Herpes is only skin deep, but it can mess with your head worse than any outbreak you'll ever have. But here's the thing. If herpes was actually the reason people lose their confidence, everyone that was diagnosed would react the same way. But they don't. Some people get the news and they keep on moving with their life, and others feel like it's over. So why do some people fall apart and others don't? Well, that's what we're going to get into today, because it's not the diagnosis that makes you lose your confidence. It's limiting beliefs about yourself that the diagnosis brings up. And once you discover where those limiting beliefs are actually coming from and see that they were never true about you in the first place, that's when you can start to change them. So today, I want to walk you through an exercise that helped me uncover my limiting beliefs and face them head on. One that you can use too, so that you could stop feeling defined by your diagnosis and start feeling like yourself again. Hi, I'm Kat Dupree, and I help people to navigate life with herpes. Now, when I got my diagnosis, I thought that my love life was done and that my life had changed for the worst. And I believed that for a really long time. So I avoided getting close to anyone, and I stopped dating altogether because I was terrified of being judged or rejected. Now, if that's where you are at this moment, what you're feeling is totally normal. But there's something really important that I want you to know. There's another layer as to how and why you're feeling the way that you do, and it goes way deeper than the diagnosis itself and what it actually triggers the moment that you get the news. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about limiting beliefs about yourself, ones that you may have buried for years. Thoughts you didn't even know that you were still holding on to. And your diagnosis is what brought them right back to the surface. And this is exactly what we're going to get to here in a minute. But before we get started, if this is resonating with you and you wish you had people to talk to about everything that you're going through, well, you can do that at Herpes Wellness. It's a private community where you can get support from people who have been where you are. I always say that herpes isn't something that you heal alone, it's something that you heal with other people. So go check it out at herpeswellness.com. The link is also in the description. So, I don't know about you, but I still remember the moment I got the news like it was yesterday. After I hung up the phone with the doctor's office, my heart started racing and I felt this really huge pit in my stomach. My self-esteem immediately went flying out the window, and I felt like my life was over, that I was no longer desirable, and that no one would want to be with me again. And at the same time, here's what I also knew. Herpes is common, manageable, and millions of us are in the same boat. So if that's the case, why did it have such a negative effect on me, or anyone for that matter? And what I found out during my healing journey when reading a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is that the brain doesn't react based on facts. It reacts based on what it's programmed to believe. In the book, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about how your body runs off of old emotional patterns built from everything you've experienced and what you've been taught in the past. So the reaction you have isn't based on what's actually true. It's based on what you already believe to be true. And since most of us grew up hearing herpes talked about like it's dirty, shameful, or something that makes you damaged goods, when you're told you have it, you're not just reacting to the news, you're reacting to every one of those beliefs you already have about it. And here's what I also learned. The feelings you have are not only about what you were taught about herpes, it's also about what you already believed about yourself before you ever got the news. So before you got your diagnosis, if you already believed that you're unworthy, unlovable, or not enough, herpes only makes those feelings even stronger. This is why some people struggle with getting the news while others don't. Here's an example. Two people can get the exact same diagnosis. One person thinks, this isn't ideal, but it's manageable, and I'll learn how to deal with it. They don't allow herpes to affect their self-confidence, and they have no problem telling people about their diagnosis and they also continue with life as usual. The other person, however, thinks, "This is awful. My life is over. I'm never going to find love again." They feel unlovable and believe that no one will ever want to be with them again. They're terrified of telling anyone, afraid of rejection or what people think. So they keep their diagnosis a secret, suffer in silence, and decide not to put themselves out there anymore. Well, I was the other person, and the stigma made me feel that way about myself for years. But here's what I couldn't figure out. Why would a stigma that doesn't even make logical sense have that much power over how I saw myself? And as it turns out, it really wasn't about the stigma at all. I wanted to understand why I felt so broken after my diagnosis, so I started digging into anything I could find. So around the same time I was reading Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, I came across Aaron Doty on YouTube. He talks a lot about how the patterns we live out as adults trace all the way back to roles we took on as kids and how our bodies hold on to whatever feels familiar, even when what's familiar is what's actually hurting us. And that's exactly what got me looking into my own childhood. Because growing up, I always felt like I wasn't good enough no matter what I did. So I spent years looking outside of myself for people to tell me I was worth something. Since I was bullied as a kid, I became a people pleaser, doing whatever I could do to fit in. And I looked for love from other people instead of finding it in myself. And what's crazy is that I had no idea any of those limiting beliefs still existed until I actually went looking for them. And once I did, it all started to make sense to me. The stigma wasn't the thing creating what I felt, but it was making what I'd been holding on to my entire life about myself even more believable. And once I was able to see those old beliefs for what they were instead of just seeing the stigma, that's when things started to change for me, because I could finally start addressing the real issue instead of chasing something that was never the actual problem to begin with. I mean, let's face it, herpes isn't the one thing that decides how you see yourself. It plays a part and it's real, but whatever you believed about yourself before your diagnosis is shaping that just as much, if not more. And those old beliefs, not the diagnosis itself, are what you actually have to work through if you want to change how you feel about yourself. So, how do you actually start working through those old beliefs that you've been holding on to? Well, here's an exercise that I want to share with you that totally helped me. First, I want you to go grab a pen and a piece of paper. Then on that piece of paper, I want you to make 3 columns. At the top of the first column, write stigma beliefs. At the top of the second column, write limiting beliefs. And at the top of the third column, write new beliefs. Now, in the first column, I want you to write down the things that the stigma tells you about herpes. Things like, no one will want me, I'm less than, or I have to keep it a secret. Then, in the second column, next to each one of the stigma beliefs, write the belief about yourself that you feel right now that aligns with the stigma belief. For example, for me, I felt completely undesirable after my diagnosis, which matches up with no one will want to be with me. Take your time with this and write everything down that comes up. Once you're done with that, in the third column, this is where you're going to replace all those limiting beliefs with new ones. Now, you're just not writing anything down to make you feel better about yourself. The point of this is to reprogram your mind with a new belief that will replace the old one. And this is where positive affirmations come in. Now, you may be thinking, I've tried positive affirmations and they didn't work. And I get it, because the same thing happened to me until I discovered that I was doing them all wrong. So for this exercise, instead of using I am affirmations, you're going to use you are affirmations instead. Now, the difference between I am affirmations and you are affirmations is that when you say I am, your brain looks around at your current reality pushes back and says, no, you're not. But when you use you are affirmations, you're bypassing your conscious mind and your current reality, and you're going straight into your subconscious mind, which is where all of your beliefs live from and where new ones form. So instead of writing something like I am lovable, you're going to switch that up and write you are lovable. Now, this isn't a one and done exercise. You'll want to do this anytime either a stigma belief or a limiting belief pops up in your head. And writing them down is far more important than saying them out loud, because when you write something down by hand, you can't do it without thinking about it, which helps to encode the new beliefs into your mind. This is why the process is called encoding, because your brain is basically a huge computer that you're uploading new code or new beliefs to. Makes sense, right? And over time, the more you do this practice, those new beliefs start to take over the old ones. And without you even realizing it, you start living your life and making decisions through those new beliefs. So here's what I want you to walk away with today. Herpes is really only skin deep. But what makes it feel like so much more than that isn't the virus itself. It's the stigma bringing up limiting beliefs you already had about yourself long before you ever got the news. And once you can see those two things separately, the stigma and what you actually believe about yourself, you stop trying to fix your diagnosis and you start working on what was actually there the whole time. This isn't about ignoring the fact that you have herpes. It's about finally healing the thing that your diagnosis was never actually about, which is the story you're telling yourself about who you now are. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. And again, if you're tired of navigating your condition alone, come join us at Herpes Wellness. You can join for free and get instant access to forums where you can ask questions, seek advice, and help other members along their journeys. Sign up today at herpeswellness.com. The link is in the description. If you want support on the go, then you can download the Herpes Wellness app for free in both the App Store and in Google Play. If you're concerned about privacy, we've got you totally covered. The app icon and push notifications say H Wellness, so if someone happens to see your screen, you won't disclose your status unintentionally. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on audio, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And be sure to show us some love and give us a like or a hype so other people can find the podcast. And if you like what you're hearing, or if there's something specific you'd like for me to talk about on the show, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you the next time on the Herpes Wellness Podcast. Bye for now.